Calm people consistently control the pace of an interaction, and pace controls outcomes. When someone stays slow and steady, their nervous system does not escalate, and that forces the other person to unconsciously adjust downward. This immediately reduces emotional volatility and increases compliance because decisions made in a calmer state feel safer and more deliberate. In practice, this means answering slower than expected, pausing before responding, and not matching urgency with urgency. That pause subtly signals confidence and authority because people who lack power rush to fill silence. The calm person sets the tempo, and the faster person starts chasing it. This shows up when someone pressures you and you notice they slow down after you do not react. Once pace shifts, leverage shifts with it. Calm people win because they do not over-explain, and over-explaining weakens perceived authority. When someone explains too much, they signal uncertainty and invite resistance, even if their point is correct. The listener starts evaluating, questioning, and pushing back instead of accepting. In practice, this means stating a position once, clearly, and stopping without justification unless it is requested. That restraint forces the other person to process rather than argue. It also frames the calm speaker as someone whose decisions do not require approval. This shows up when someone keeps adding reasons and you feel tempted to challenge them. The absence of extra explanation quietly shifts the burden of effort onto the other side. Calm people maintain advantage because they do not react immediately to pressure, and pressure loses power when it is not rewarded. When someone stays composed under provocation, the other person's tactic stops working in real time. Pressure depends on visible reaction to confirm influence. In practice, this means allowing a moment of silence after demands, accusations, or emotional statements instead of responding defensively. That delay removes emotional fuel and forces the other person to either escalate or self-correct. Most people soften when their pressure produces nothing. This shows up when someone pushes harder because you did not respond fast enough. The calm response exposes who needs control more in that moment. Calm people gain leverage by asking fewer questions because questions shift control to the speaker. When someone asks too many questions, they position the other person as the authority and themselves as the seeker. The calm person lets information come to them instead of chasing it. In practice, this means allowing others to explain, justify, or fill space without interruption. People reveal more when they are not being guided. This creates asymmetry, where one side gathers data while the other spends energy talking. This shows up when someone keeps explaining their position without being asked. The person speaking more is usually the one with less control. Calm people win by keeping their voice and body language consistent, because consistency signals internal control. When tone, volume, and posture stay stable, the brain reads the person as grounded and credible. Sudden shifts suggest emotional leakage and reduce influence immediately. In practice, this means keeping the same speaking speed and volume, whether agreeing, disagreeing, or refusing. That stability prevents the interaction from becoming reactive. It also makes the other person more cautious about escalating. This shows up when someone raises their voice or leans in and you notice the calm person does not mirror it. The one who stays physically and vocally unchanged usually dictates the direction next. Calm people gain advantage by conceding small points early because controlled agreement lowers resistance. When someone feels partially validated, their need to push drops and their guard opens. This is not submission, it is tactical alignment that creates access. In practice, this means agreeing with a minor detail while staying firm on the outcome that matters. That partial agreement makes opposition feel unnecessary and often disarms it completely. The other person relaxes because they feel heard, not challenged. This shows up when someone agrees with you on something trivial before redirecting the conversation. What looks like cooperation is often a setup for control. Calm people maintain control by using fewer words because brevity increases perceived certainty. Short statements leave less to attack and reduce openings for argument. Long explanations create hooks that others can pull on. In practice, this means responding with the minimum words needed to state a position and then stopping. That forces the other person to react to what was said, not reinterpret what was meant. It also frames the calm speaker as someone who does not need to persuade. This shows up when someone gives a brief answer and the other person starts filling the silence with objections or clarifications. The one speaking less is usually shaping the exchange. Calm people win by not correcting others immediately because correction triggers ego defense. When someone is corrected on the spot, their focus shifts from the issue to protecting status. That resistance blocks influence. In practice, this means letting small inaccuracies pass while anchoring the conversation to the outcome you want. Control comes from direction, not from being right in the moment. People comply more when they do not feel exposed or challenged. This shows up when someone lets another person finish confidently before later reframing the point. Delayed correction preserves leverage and keeps the interaction moving in your favor. Calm people retain advantage by not matching emotional intensity because intensity is a bid for control. When one person escalates emotionally and the other does not, the imbalance becomes obvious. The calmer person is read as stable, and stability attracts authority. In practice, this means responding to anger, excitement, or urgency with the same neutral delivery you would use for routine matters. That contrast drains momentum from emotional tactics. The other person often de-escalates to regain alignment. This shows up when someone becomes animated and then slows down after seeing no reaction. Emotional restraint quietly decides who leads next. Calm people often win because they do not rush to close interactions, and unfinished exchanges create leverage. When someone is comfortable leaving things open, the other person keeps thinking about it afterward. The need for closure shifts effort to the side that wants certainty. In practice, this means ending conversations without final agreement, summary, or reassurance. That absence keeps the calm person psychologically present even when they are no longer there. People replay unresolved moments and soften their positions over time. This shows up when someone circles back later with concessions or follow-ups you did not ask for. The interaction does not actually end when the calm person leaves it open.